So in the last video I mentioned that the video was leading up to something. And in fact, when I look back at the series thus far, a lot of the videos have been sort of leading up to this event, kind of like a important scene in a play. You can't go from extreme doubting to some of the extreme beliefs that I later had without hearing the story. And as much as I've been dreading it, I feel it needs to be told. Now this is one of the only stories I'm going to be telling that heavily involves somebody else, so I'm going to be leaving out as much detail about them as possible. Now, I mentioned in my Halloween drama video that I came to believe that demons existed. I believed that they were working in our lives and we had to be careful of them and Satan, and I believed in all that. And I had also heard stories that I haven't mentioned throughout the few years that I was in church at this point, from friends, from people over the pulpit, about people who were demonically possessed. I also mentioned in the Halloween drama video that at one point me and some friends brought a friend from school, and that person got saved by watching that Halloween drama. And this person ended up part of our circle of friends, and this was someone that I spent a lot of time with. I considered this person to be a good Christian. I considered this person to be a good support for me, since I was going through doubts and things like that. And this was one of the, probably 3 or 4 people I talked to really regularly. And I remember one time I was in my dorm. I called this person, or this person called me. I don't remember which it was. And they told me, I've been sick all week. I've been throwing up like crazy, and I just haven't been feeling great. I have just not been feeling right. I remember them saying that. And I thought, that sucks, you're sick, I'm sorry, lay down. And the person was laying down as they were talking to me, and they also had like one of those headset phones. So I remember they were like, well, I can lay down and talk to you, not have to worry about holding the phone or whatever. So we kind of got on some sort of casual topic. And, I was talking at one point, and I finished talking, and there was silence. I was like, hello? Hello? And I'm thinking, the cell phone went dead. That must be it. And then, right when I was about to hang up and try to call back, I heard this kind of like growl voice. That's the best way you can describe it. So clearly it wasn't that my phone had died. So I was like, what the? That's weird. I was like, hello, are you okay? Like, I was thinking this person's sick, something's wrong with them. And then they started, I don't remember what they said, but in that deep, growly voice, they said something to me. I heard the voice over the phone. It was like it was somebody else. It sounded like someone completely different. But they had a headset on. Who else was I talking to? At first, I kind of thought the person was messing with me. I was kind of like, oh, very funny. And then they didn't stop. I can't remember what the voice said. I remember very little of what it said. But I know it talked about itself in the third person. It talked about, it stated things like it wasn't the person I was talking to. Like it was a separate person. And I remember the voice that this person was now using saying that they were going to inflict harm on the person that I was talking to. At this point, I got very scared. And then it sort of dawned on me. I don't remember how early. It was really early on that it apparently had some sort of revelation about what the problem was. Clearly, this person was demon-possessed. So, I proceeded to try to cast the demon out of them. It hurts to even say. I look back at this event now and I think to myself, why didn't 911 come into my head? It seems pretty obvious when I look back that if someone is threatening to slice themselves open with a knife or jump off their balcony, which at one point I heard both those threats, then and someone's speaking in a creepy voice in the third person, that would probably be a good route to go. But no, I decided to take the cast the demon out route because I thought that I knew that's what it was. This demon casting out session lasted for about 2 hours. The last thing that happened before my friend started talking normal and not in a creepy voice was the voice said it was going to come after me. So finally this person stopped and seemed okay, and by the way, they had no recollection of any of it. The only reason they believed me is because there was a massive time lapse. There was a 2-hour time lapse that they couldn't remember. And I remember being totally freaked out that night. And I remember laying down thinking, wow, that was horrible. So, but I thought to myself, you know, at least one good thing came out of all this. And that is, I know God's real. How could that have happened any other way? That belief kept me from now seeing what was so obviously supposed to be done in that situation, which was I should have picked up the phone, the landline, and called 911. But instead, since I had the wrong information, I did something that could have cost someone their life. And I was friends with this person for a while afterwards, and I'm amazed that when this person started having severe migraines, consistent nosebleeds, memory lapses, severe mood swings, started going to the hospital repeatedly because this person was in so much pain, I never put 2 and 2 together. I never thought that they were related. It never even occurred to me. Even when this person started verbally abusing me for no reason and then forgetting that they did it, they never used the creepy voice again, so I never put the 2 together. And it shocks me that I never did. Sadly, one day this person told me that they had faked a conversion to my religion. When we had invited this person to church from high school, they were lonely and they wanted friends. So they went along with it so this person would gain our trust. And I remember thinking to myself, now it all makes sense. Now it all makes sense that this person would be demon-possessed because they weren't a true Christian in the first place. Unfortunately, not too long after that, I cut this person off completely. Told them I didn't want to talk to them anymore, and that I wouldn't answer their calls and I wouldn't see them. And it was mostly due to the emotional pain this person had put me through. But I will admit that part of the reason that I cut this person off was because I found out that they weren't really part of my religion. And of course I felt betrayed because I'd been lied to. But it was also that feeling of, how could I trust this person to not be a demonic influence in my life? If I've already been through this and I was already told that I was being hunted by demons, I needed to be really careful. Listening to my story, I think you can understand why I made the choices that I made. Even though now I wish more than anything that I would have called 911 that night. So that person might have gotten the help they needed a lot sooner. And the doctors may have been able to put pieces together if I would have ever connected all those things in my mind. It is really one of the only parts of my religious life that I intensely regret. Because it's one thing to harm myself with my own beliefs, but it's a completely different thing to harm another person. And I was embarrassed later, looking back, as I started looking more into brain injuries, working in the mental health system, and I started realizing how ridiculous I'd been with my beliefs. There are so many more likely reasons that happened than a demonic possession. But this story is so important because, one, it shows how damaging a literal belief in demonic possession can be. And two, it shows how I went from being someone who believed something was true to someone who knew something was true.